To raise your kids not to believe in any religion is to invite them to decide for themselves to derail their lives. I pity these kids who were not raised aware of their lives being in possession of any apparent purpose or direction. You are so much more significant than cosmic dust drifting through outer space in the Lord's eyes. You are precious in His sight. Keep on walking in the light, though you may need to reinvent yourself continually until you figure out the person God called you to be. Was staring back at you in the mirror all alone. Could I spend a day outside my cage of captivity? I continued to rage, not against the way I was raised, merely rebelling against my tendency to cave into temptation when it comes knocking on at my skull, trying to infiltrate my heart and pull me under the ocean's depths. It's hard for these kids to use a moral compass when there's a God-shaped hole inside their tiny hearts. Who is there to help them navigate the treacherous waters of identity? Playing dress-ups as kids doesn't mean you prefer to be one gender or another, but dressing in the clothing of the opposite sex should be discouraged, not punished. Just explain to why it is that isn't what you do. If you are not in possession of that gender, to save you from mockery, to keep you from being confused further down the track, remember pretending we had oranges for boobs, or making fake mammary glands for our friends regardless of gender when they lay upon the beach and we covered them up to their necks in sand. We knew what we were doing was grotty and rude. We did attach immorality to it, but had no serious aspirations to become something other than what God made us. If kids aren't taught a religion, they will inevitably manufacture their own hodgepodge of belief systems. They will value whatever the adults in their lives tell them to respect. Like it or not, their values and moral judgments will be formed one way or the other. Society at large and media in general, which will teach them all they do and don't need to follow. I feel sorry for kids not given parental examples of their own gender. Left out on a limb, left to flounder, getting their head pounded for their false ideas about bigotry and tolerance, misrepresenting prejudice towards them. They will say anything goes until you try and stand up for what is right. Then see how they close their ranks around you, attempting to silence and ostracize you, politicizing even the most innocuous activities like using the restroom, forcing little kids to risk being harmed by sexual predators every time they take a whiz. How did we come to this? What happened to the sharp-shooting straight talkers, those not afraid to get a little fire and brimstone in their sermons, who point towards a heart of integrity above the lurid glowing attraction of instant popularity, standing for nothing and falling for everything? Where is our soul purity? It's a tragedy to see children blaming themselves when their parents get divorced, wondering if maybe they had talked to the parents, wondering if maybe they had talked to the parent who was now absent more. If they had tried to understand their point of view instead of stirring one up against the other, maybe they wouldn't have turned their backs on the possibility of reconciliation and kinship. Flipping out at the likelihood that I might have just discovered somebody to love after a long lifetime search. It shouldn't matter what shape your body is. Everybody has lovable qualities. Even if you are a bit of pudgy pudding, somebody will want to squeeze and please you. It doesn't help to boost that kid's self-esteem if you are constantly putting them down or telling them they should be something other than how they came out their mother's uterus. We make way too much fuss about things that are the opposite of important and not enough about the things that truly count. I'm glad my folks stepped in, preventing me from bullying my sister, teaching me how to best act towards members of the opposite sex, though I must confess I've still got a whole lot to learn in the female treatment department. I used to be far more insistent about having a wife that was good at cooking and cleaning. Now all I truly care about is whether or not she loves Jesus, and she cares enough about me to put up with all my little quirks and oddities. I don't want to be one of those guys that struggles to be faithful to women. I guess the best way to avoid this is to put myself out of reach of temptation. Likewise, folks who keep medicine and matches beyond the kids' sticky-fingered grasp. Parents may try to lock up the doors and windows of their kids' rooms, but they may still find a way to weasel their way out of there. If they are inconsistent in disciplining their kids, their offspring will expect to always be threatened, but never for there to be any follow-through. So when it's time for those kids to discipline their own young, they won't know what to do, only seeing a harsh, extreme form of corporal punishment, equating it with a capital crime in their twisted minds. A wooden spoon may have hurt me physically, but for sure it helped to guide me spiritually. I quickly learned what was right and what was wrong, how to avoid making Jesus distraught, not just how to dodge getting my meals like self-caught. I fought for the world to be more loving in the most agape-like interpretation of purest affection. I found myself tunneling further inside his heart, shamefaced due to my misspent youth and sorrow-fueled misdirection. Now, some can say they are victims of tiddy fiddlers, others can stick their hands up and admit to being whipped, injured or abandoned, cussed out for no good reason, used as a punching bag, treated like dirty rags. Jesus loves them just as much as those that dodge that horrible experience. He looks down on all the gruesome deeds of the world and he cries on our behalf. He pours out his rivers of cleansing empathy for us. He knows what we have been forced to endure. He sees every tear we attempt to cry in secret, hiding from the scathing gaze of a truly uncaring world. For those who just want to encourage us to continue in our struggle don't truly care about us. They just want to find an easy answer for the problem of us, despite the evidence to the contrary, that everything permissible is not by all means the most beneficial path to travel onwards. Giving the go-ahead won't remove the onerous internal conflict. Changing the rules and laws of society isn't going to alter the pricking of our consciences. God's light has a way of breaking through into even the darkest heart. What an abominable scenario, when those who are drowning in dark pools crying out for help are forced to continue wallowing in their foolishness, all because one's scared to see the world becoming more godly. Couldn't possibly allow for one precious seed to flower into something other than a weed. Toffee apple, love. I've got a toffee apple. It's sticky, red and sweet. You know it is delicious and also very good to eat. Yes, I hear it is healthy, for it contains natural sugar as well as the refined strain. It's hard on my teeth and requires piercing with a skewer. It leaves a resonance of honey-like nectar that will endure in both my mouth and memory. My kind dad bought it for me. I did nothing to deserve it. I think his sweet, loving nature is absolutely perfect. I know I'm not always grateful enough for the things my dad does for me. He drives me just about anywhere I want to be. He takes me to the train station, even picking me up at gloomy hours when it's incredibly dark and hard to see on the street. Even if you have a lamp on in the inky depths of midnight blackness, I love the way the seeds in my toffee apple form the shape of a star. To me, my dad is one shining bright. I know he loves me because he taught me how to shine my holy light. I'm sick of living like a spiritual schizophrenic. I hate to think of myself as a total hypocrite. I know my daddy raised me to act better than this. Is it late at night? I find myself becoming more... Why is it late at night? I find myself becoming more creepy as I become increasingly sleepy-eyed. Is the lady rooted and included in the army of the evil one, roped in, seduced by the charms of an easy under eyes temptress? It's not her fault I choose to behave the way I do. I can choose how much I want to interact with her and how much I need to keep my distance from her. If she asks me for money or wants to be in a relationship with me, from the first meeting alarm bells should start ringing in my head. I should have known when she said she likes to go clubbing what kind of girl she is, but I've taught myself not to judge and look for elements of godliness, even in the most apparently unredeemed heart, seeing as we all have the ability to repent and start over, thanks to the soul-transforming power of Jehovah. Why is it that I imagine being with the kind of woman who will only lead me through the gates of hell, not the pearly-encrusted ones of heaven? Why do I pick the path of thorns, that barbed wire fence I'm better off avoiding? Even getting electric shocks from it doesn't stop my head from exploding with desire to give in to that carnal craving. Lord help me, cause I'm fighting a heavy battle here. I go to war on my knees for the sake of my future and everybody else around me. Those who don't know you yet and those who do, they are just sweating heavy, trying to beat the demons and keep them from their doorway. If I feel guilt in my conscience, surely that means I am trying I am closer to being delivered than I am if I feel nothing. If I have become completely cold and numb, disconnected from my ability to hurt Jesus with my deeds. Lord, I don't want my sins to make your heart beat again. I have already done too much damage to our relationship for one lifetime. I know you can help me when I'm climbing up the walls and seeing potential relationships screech to a stolen halt. When the little baby of our love and nature remains forever stillborn, if I can't find fulfillment in you, I will never discover it in anything outside of your incredible soul. It's not true that if I swallow a seed, I shall grow a tiny tree inside of me. But it is true that a little bit of jealousy can cause me to lose my zealousness for God's kingdom, and overindulgence in self-gratification can destroy my ability to witness, scaring me witless when I get thrown into those tricky questions and prepared for the warfare looking just around the corner from my dwelling. Just because we aren't always aware of the state of war we are in doesn't mean it ever quits happening. It's only when we obey God over the devil that we begin to notice when the devil is trying to get our attention. Get over if we are serving the evil one. Then our sweet Savior will try to convince, and to get our attention. Convince, and persuade us of the best path to take in order to obtain and remain in our freedom. His word is powerful enough to slice through all the lies of the enemy. There is no mind so troubled that he can't hear it. Some of his mysteries he chooses to reveal only to a select few, but it doesn't mean it's not available for everyone to access if we are only bold enough to ask him to go deeper with us. The cost is deeper than we might think. To follow Christ it requires dying daily to selfish desires that threaten to take over our insides. But in his heart where Jehovah resides, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. He helps me out in my difficulties. He provides his peace. He gives me options when I think I only have one choice. If I can just tune into his gentle loving whispers, I know he will steer me on a straight course. There have been days when my brain is cluttered by confusion, when delusion and the intrusion of sensational temptations bombards my senses in my moments of seclusion. Must I learn not to be alone for my own protection? To be conscious and confined by solitude is dangerous unless I remember I can always call on you for help, my mighty rescuer. Some people confuse joy with getting their own way. It's only selfishness that focuses solely on my own pleasure at the expense of everyone else's. If all of us were primarily concerned with protecting our own necks, slavery or child labor would have never been abolished. It's gonna take more than a bit of spit and polish to transform my heart so it looks more like Jesus. Even if I let go of everything else in my life, Jesus, I will keep holding on to you. My heavenly daddy always looks after me. He has never let me run around naked or go hungry, unless it's of my own volition. My soul is obtaining true manumission. He is a technician who fixes up all my inconsistencies of character, whose love is the sweetest kind of confectionery, who is out of the ordinary yet relatable to every single human being, whoever was or will be, 'cause he trod in the same shoes as us. He went through the same battles we did, yet he didn't give in from the age of an adult to a kid. He valiantly fought on for the sake of the emancipation of the whole earth, coming to us via virgin birth, comforting me when I'm blue like a smurf, washed up on the turf, riding high on the crest of a wave of his love, blessings pouring down from heaven up above, wishing I was dead so I could be with him, yet knowing he has a purpose for me being alive and breathing. I want to feel his glory pour out of me, touch of beings of the human variety, though I may gain notoriety, yet let it be only for the sake of being a loudmouth for his awesome love. Let me not cause any others to be corrupted. Pull me off the road to self-destruction. Abduct me from alienating you if I start to get that way. When I build up both between us, when you try to reach my stubborn peach-like heart. The struggle is real, but so is the power of my God to reveal the roadmap to escape from this debacle I've got on tap. I got the wound, but at least it isn't septic. I got a way of living, with some have doubts and misgivings about, so they refuse to accept it. Hard to say what's worse, an honest atheist or dishonest Christian hypocrite. Can't say I've ever been the former, but the latter has my name splattered in blood all over it. Consistency has always been a problem for me. Escaping the reach of the generic and mundane, learning to live with my unoriginal cliche take on existence, theorising it's better to be seen by some as dishwater dull than make the dumb move of succumbing to the lure of the enemy just for the sake of pleasing the crowd, sending up flares and distress signals to the Most High. I've got a different way of operating, not cooperating with all the rules and regulations thrown up in my face, embracing the future, longing to replace my mucky, sucky past with a redeemed reputation, repudiated by the God who gravitated towards me, lifting my soul up from underneath the floorboards. I never aim for shock value, I just let those claims of truth and my point of view tumble out naturally. This is my perspective on the world as I see it, bold to think anyone might look at the incredible healing work that's taken place in their life and not fall on their faces in gratitude to God. Who's to say she didn't? I don't know her own journey, only that she like the rest of us, has to cut some things away from her life that remain inconsistent with the claims of belonging declared by those who swear allegiance to Christ and find their ID in Him. It was never you but me, forcing my faith to become secretive around you, scared that you might pack your bags and leave. Finding myself becoming increasingly more besotted with you, losing a plot over all these lovely ladies who may or may not be spiritually incompatible with me. Two horses pulling in opposite directions, will I find myself being pulled to pieces before I receive correction with the right spirit? I can't see the point or the reason for it in this particular instance. Though the child gets spoiled when you spare the rod, however much the legal requirements of our law land may say otherwise. Slave to a company of fools that doesn't seek to unite nations, only divide them and impose penalties upon those who disobey their edicts. So much gluttony takes place. We see bucket loads of good food tossed to garbage, gone to waste, causing carnage and devastation in the lives of those hands whose lands they occupy on a temporary or permanent basis. So many young girls, and a lesser extent of boys, find themselves forced to prostitute themselves for cash. What is treated like commodities, what we perceive as an oddity, something that should be penalised and criminalised. Yet though we chastise in our mind's eye, we allow it to happen in our own backyards. Could you sleep in the same room as a young kid without causing them harm by taking advantage of them as they rest? This seems a reasonable explanation and requirement for most ordinary human beings. Why do they fear guys of a certain age? You can detect the unspoken paranoia on their faces, yet they permit little lassies to dress older than their years, and they wonder why the seed gets planted in the mind of a dude, that she's not so small that her heart can't get taken out for a test drive. Oh, how cruel and how callous we can be, how easy it is to demonize, to villainize and victimize others. But oh, how blessed it is to be the one to see a daughter or son reunited with their family once a Friday, to treat them right, too scared that they would sink like stones into a well of poverty. So they sold them in sex slavery, not valuing the innocence of childhood. Some make these wee ones lift heavy burdens bigger than they should be reasonably expected to carry. A kid shouldn't be forced to marry, neither should an adult. They need those growing up years to prepare themselves for wedded bliss. Otherwise they're setting themselves up for a letdown, throwing themselves in the deep end of emotion, forcing themselves to swim in the pool too soon. That ocean can drag you down with its heavy set of blues. You want to concentrate on learning skills to survive in the real world, not get your brain bogged down in sexual politics. If you're too young to have sex, you don't need to know what it is. You shouldn't participate in it outside the confines of marriage. Why do so many of us possess that tried before your buy mentality. Divorce would be more of an empty threat if you had a stable income to act like a net to fall back on when you slip from the flying trapeze, getting down on your knees, somersaulting in the air, tumble turning if you dare. Didn't know how much you cared, didn't care how much you knew, didn't want your point of view to become my own until now. There was a point in time you had it all worked out, who you were planning on spending the rest of your life with. Tell me, where does it leave you but empty-hearted and jaded? If you are the most empowered, independent little princess in the world with no one to share your castle or treasure with, for sure you don't need a prince to party like a princess, but you do if you want to have a little prince or princess of your own. Hey, yeah, maybe you're pop, but at least I don't have a heart of stone, and maybe you can see something of worth within these flesh and bones. Perhaps one day they shall be yours alone. You can show up on my playlist. In my heyday, you can throw up in my attic in the month of May. You can be as sweet as berries, you could sip a little sherry alongside me. We can play in the hollow down by that sleepy old oak tree. Tires swinging, reminding us of the good years with the king. Clinging to us like saran wrapped in the gladness of the great I am. They try to corrupt all our words, pervert that purity away. I mean happiness only when I say that it's good to be gay, to find the joy in every moment, to be full of pride, just to be walking my Savior's side before your bride slips away. But you're tired as you die, we are your body, we are your people, and the sheep of your pasture. We bleed after you, cause the devil to be the us, to retreat from us. We entreat you now, there never was such a love, a tasty treat as that which we uncovered from your holy book. Your every utterance giving us life and nourishment, replenishing our dried and thirsty spirits, wrinkled like strawberries, blazed to ruin by the heat wave. Let me only crave what pleases you. Push away those desires for wickedness to hold my flesh. It's only when I start to choose to do what is right that I see I'm in the biggest fight, just to keep myself from drowning. I'm not crying around anymore like a harlequin head, dressed up in bright colors, juggling balls with a funny red nose, rainbow hair, endless handkerchiefs, balloon animals and strappy suspenders. I save a love of my savior. A pocket full of rocket launches. It's impossible not to get stumped. You travel in some parks at night, you're gonna get jumped. Shake your rump if you see your chumps or competition. Bump your body to the beat of his will submission. Cramp if you wanna jump to choose him. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Even if you got dumped, it can be a soul lover. Don't think you look frumpy. Get over that hump of a day. Jump back on your camel, lady. Join that desert ship caravan of courage. The brave army of righteousness. They try to act like we got more lumps in our brain than mama's porridge. I've had injections for measles, mumps, and rubella. It didn't turn me into a Rosella. Though the jury's out on whether it caused my asperges. I never had to pump water from a well, but I got it from a tap in a compound with a windmill once. You can find it in artesian basins. Gathered its life-giving source from underneath the earth, or drain the salt out of the ocean, boil away the saline, treat it so it's drinkable, or dig a hole big enough to contain a large body of it, and make your own dam or canal. Be a pal and share what you've got, don't keep it all to yourself. Some have the skills to sump oil, I won't act like a glum grump, if you accuse me of never participating in any kind of arduous toil. 'Cause you have obviously never laboured over a page for the sake of Jehovah's love like I have. Or if you did, it wasn't quite as consuming a passion for you as it was for me. So please pass on my regards to all who were disregarding me, 'cause I won't be coming back to suffer under the infliction of your blows. You will have to find some other way to amuse yourself and keep your spirit on its toes. Avoid being pinned down, pressed by knuckle sandwiches to that foamy mattress. Standing it counts, waiting for the bell to ring to signal you the all clear that it's okay at last to get up out of here. Sincerity seems hard to come by these days. We are all quivering in the shadows instead of standing boldly in the light. What happened to the legally protected status of our religion? This country was founded on a wobbly consensus.
between those who support and oppose us. And now these days we are reaping the consequences of our age of disenlightenment, when people thought they were getting smarter by reducing their intelligence and throwing out the props they once gave to the source of all inspiration. Yet, yes, even still lives of fruit were once conscripted for the glory of God. If you see a problem, you should probably deal with it, instead of leaving it up to somebody else to fix, assuming you are capable of producing a better result or unequal to what they would be able to achieve by themselves. If I did but know a way to make pain go away permanently, I would use that wisdom to heal the world of every sickness and disease. Is prejudice really something we can escape from this side of eternity? Can discrimination ever be healthy? If we apply it to what we need to avoid for the sake of our souls' preservation, keeping the weeds from growing amongst the lilies and choking the life right out of them. I am not the worst example of a human being who has ever lived, neither am I the best for sure. I need to rest my jaw. All this talking is making it sore, yawning from boredom and tiredness, which are inextricably linked in the most explicable way. It's gonna take something pretty shocking to gain my attention and keep it for longer than the time it takes for my eyes to drag themselves off to weary delirium. Closing those lid shutters. Even if you button me up, I could still be sore. Number one, the day is still a newborn babe wrapped in swaddling cloth. You could kick the living daylights out of me and I would still be snoozing away. Please don't take it personally. I'm up late most nights and I hardly ever sleep properly. It's got nothing to do with my dreaming position or my capacity to nod off, cause I can do it just like a finger click. It's just a matter of switching off my brain. This overactive imagination full of ideas, buzzing round my head like a hornet's nest, not willing to let me close my eyes and rest. Vultures circling the dead, I will lose the plot soon if I don't force myself to obey the unction of the moon. Squeeze my pupils tight with all my might. Allow that peaceful snoozing time to claim me, like Bruce does the wino soul. These bruises won't make you whole, where God will through the process. Let pain be bring an unfair share of joy to your door also. I never knew what it was like to wake up with severed limbs or missing functions like sight, sound, hearing, taste and touch, or even smell. I hope I never have to discover that, creating absence for my own self. I am not the kind of person you would want to hang around 24/7. I'm only good in small dosages. Perhaps for long trips when you need some yucking maniac to keep you awake, because I don't require anyone to contribute to my constantly bubbling brook like running monologue. Oh, let me not go to the dogs. Like Jezebel's dismembered corpse, it's a sabering thought to consider all that's precious and sacred about us. We're what we have in the eyes of our Father, whose company we would rather be in than anyone else's. It's a little difficult to imagine loving someone enough that you would want to die for them, even if they were your very best friend, yet alone your worst enemy on this earth. Or one you had never met before, yet still adore enough to adorn yourself upon the bloody cross as a trophy of grace. My words become muddled together. I'm not clever enough to be able to convince the universe that God exists, but that He lives in me, I might have a cracking shot. If only they could see the evidence there's something different about me that they want for themselves. If only they could know that peace that passes all understanding, that just defies my comprehension. How could you sleep when the sky is crackling with lightning? They didn't say you weren't frightened, just that you didn't allow fear to overwhelm you and destroy your faith. If only we could also walk on watery waves. Would that be enough to save us from our own self-destructive tendencies? Or would we go back the very next day to play the man with fire, treating it like cupcakes? It doesn't seem possible that anyone on earth could be so stupid, yet for the sake of jealousy a man has killed his brother. Blood has been spilled of lovers in the scorching desert sand. An apple has been eaten. Or maybe it was a mango for all we know. If the tree of knowledge was a rock melon, the world would be safe. If it was up to me to take the fruit or let it be, there's no way you can tempt me unless I'm willing to acquiesce. I believe we can't be possessed unless we invite demons to control us. Roll us out of evil's reach. Yes, you are.
taking statements from a vast sea of humanity, bearing witness to God's glory in the ever-passing moment.
I airbrush my hairbrush out of my life, so I never ever had to use a stupid thing again. As if the fact might follow calls I kept out my eyes would induce in any woman the desire to subject herself to a conversation with me, other than broadcasting the fact she wanted me to get out of her way forthwith. But what if we didn't have to suffer under the scorn of wagging tongues? There will come a day when our Messiah will return. My eyes look to the hills of Zion, gazing upon the direction where my help comes from. In my King I place my hope, who breathes life into me and provides the strength to soldier on. The relationships with humans may be destroyed. The one I have with my ever-loving Saviour shall linger on beyond the grave. I will tell of His great love and His amazing grace everywhere I go in this world. For I am no longer bound by sin, merely held captive by my love for Him. He shows us the bigger picture, and we cannot see beyond the lens of our experience. We shouldn't judge Him through that narrowing of focus. He transcends peripheral vision. In the realm of the Spirit, He is moving on our behalf, shaking the heavens out over us like a vibrating blanket when you dust it. Beaten against the wall, Jericho has to fall when we blow our trumpets and praise His holy name. Jordan and the Red Sea have to part on your command. It wasn't some special magic trick driven by rod Moses held in his hand, but the life of all God's people held within the grip of His palm, causing miracles to happen, keeping us all safe from harm. Who would have thought that little baby in the bulrushes would have grown up to be a mighty man of valor? Used by Him, it goes to show you should have never discount or despise the days of small beginnings, my friend. He was due for destruction when Pharaoh sent a proclamation throughout the land that every firstborn Hebrew babe would be slaughtered. But those savvy midwives perpetuated an unbelievable myth, swindling those gullible leaders that the Jewish women pop out babies faster than they can kill or count them. Thank God for their respect for the sanctity of life. They saw how Pharaoh's orders were hurting God, how they were making His heart bleed and His eyes cry. They listened to their conscience, a voice beyond themselves, tugging on their hearts and souls, telling them to put away that knife. Use that blade to make short work of their lentils and falafel instead, perhaps combined with a little bit of bread. Unlike the Christ child, they couldn't rise from the dead, so they had to be ultra careful about whose blood they shed. Not wanting to be haunted by the ghosts of guilt, they weren't daunted by the prospects of losing their heads for the sake of protecting the innocent. As the baker, in the time of Joseph, was known to have experienced, when birds carried his skull aloft into the trees above the breeze that has flown, we have grown to appreciate the way others behave. Let currents of revival now spread worldwide, making waves. Let the good Lord we crave be known throughout the whole earth. I can hear your voice of glory breaking through the surf. What is the measure of man? What is his life now truly worth? Precious enough for God to die for, valuable enough for Him to use us to pour out His blessings on others. We must not think too highly or lowly of ourselves, but evaluate ourselves in a healthy manner, for all of us can be used to expand His kingdom, and it's His desire that none of us get left behind or throw ourselves into the fire because of our blind minds. If one without sight leads another, both will flop into a ditch. They say you can save 9 with a well-timed stitch. Some women used to be called witches because they behaved in a certain manner, but it didn't mean that you had the intention to call boulders down upon those going spelunking in the cave. Craving a simple, pleasant, quiet, simple life till the day arise when I meet my Saviour beyond the grave. If you call me back into the mission field, If that bell starts ringing for me again, I know you will equip me for what I need. Without you living in my heart, I can't succeed. You cause the most bright and beautiful flowers to grow amongst the most vicious weeds, threatening to choke us in the prime of life. You are bringing families together that have been torn apart. You are mending what are broken, structured hearts. You are guiding us by your holy light. You are never taking flight from us in our hour of difficulty. I can hear the songbird singing amidst the storm, praising you with every ounce of energy in our lungs. If a cat has gotten my tongue, you prize its claws away from its stubborn mass. I can go to the head of the class, with you firing me up and sending me shooting past the stars. I just want to be where you are. I can't drive a motor car. I'll last too long with my partner wishes to spar. I couldn't stand one count in the boxing ring. I couldn't do a single thing without the assistance of the King of Kings. You can restore and heal those relationships that are gone with the wind. Those that have been crushed into tiny fragments. You can resurrect them again. There is no one beyond the scope of your healing ability. Though I cannot lie, people wonder what drives me. What's the reason I wake up in the morning? You are my motivation to reach beyond myself. Stretch out the helping hand and demonstrate your love to those who only know you as a vague, unfamiliar name. Oh Lord, let them know you intimately. Let them know you as so much more than just a curse word. Let them know your miracle working nature fully and totally. Let them not remain ignorant of your devices, of your hands working behind the scenes. Forgive me for my crimes of thoughts and actions. It's only in you that I truly find a source of satisfaction. Though I have nothing else in this life, I've got you, sweet Jesus. And from that I draw the greatest reserve of strength and comfort. You are my support, my rock and hiding place, my crutch I lean on, your hope I can't replace. Help me when I can't relate to what's going on in others' lives. When there seems to be no way my mouth can fix the outbreak of an earthquake. I know there have been times you have allowed me to be your vessel, but you don't need me to transform this world. You can do it despite me, regardless of my inadequacy. The more I immerse myself in your river of purity, that is your heart, the easier I find it to avoid those things that cause you grief. You wrap a blanket around me when I'm shaken like a leaf. Some people seem to have limitless amounts of care and comfort to give others around them. I may think it's a phenomenal result of human effort alone, but I know deep down it's you causing them to have hearts of compassion. You have woken us from our selfish state of being. Let us view others through your eyes again. Obviously, I drown in my sorrows without you illuminating all my tomorrows. Don't think my integrity is venal. I am not quite as mercenary as that. I am not a hireling who doesn't care about the ship's welfare as long as I get my tucker on the table. Take me to a place where I can be stable, finding my home among the green gables. We tear down Babel with the power of love. Disconnect the cables and turn the lights out low. It's not a fable. Your word is true, your love is real, your affection transcends everything I can possibly think of for you. Contain me if I don't use my brain to full capacity. Am I displaying signs of spasticity? I can feel currents of electricity flowing through me with the intensity of several thousand volts whenever you're with me. I'm so glad you forgive me for all my faults. I was such a donut, seeing everything you could be to me. Running away from lightning bolts, hunting after me. A cold is broken loose in the paddock. Call her up to a halt, cause I wanna get off it. But it's not like a roller coaster ride where I can come and go as I choose. Only you decide that. I got a joke when I heard the news. I laughed once sweet like chocolate malt. Now it's left me battered and bruised. I knew you loved me despite the result of our interactions. No one may have dabbled with occult mindsets and twisted intentions. Take me beyond this dimension. We always choose the ones we love, but sometimes we feel the choice is taken away. Already made up for us. We don't always recognize and realize the fact that absence always exists. Whether we decide to hold on to grace or let them slide into the abyss.
If we select to stay or leave and walk away without getting involved in yet another useless argument, you lost the point if you ever had one to begin with. Your train of thought derailed. Now you're following the trail back to when everything still made sense. I haven't been right for just about as long as I can remember. I knew there was something different about me. The freak people that when they got too close to my plans. What does friendship mean if you can't prove yourself trustworthy to stick around and never let your companions down? Jesus, I'm so glad you never gave up on me, though I did on just about everybody else, pushing them as far from my door as I was capable of doing with the feeble amount of strength I possessed. For the sake of a few moments of teardrops, I could be throwing away a lifetime supply of happy smiles. It's not my style to shrug my shoulders and just toss out all hope of reconciliation. My cranium still requires fumigation, lacking the inspiration to rise above this dead love's ashes. I need to stop being resentful for all the events I missed out on. It's not like I needed to have those experiences anyway. The sun today is shining bright, and now I'm walking in your light. I keep on talking of the fight you helped me win. Don't wanna be another body outlined on the pavement chalk. You make me feel like I'm bouncing on the moon thanks to you. My faithful friend who never leaves me or forsakes me, who doesn't abandon me, is an open defense for myself. You are my defense when my actions make no sense to me. They seem to sting like a pungent stench. Save me from being a reprehensible representation of you. Let me be a sweet smelling fragrance to your nostrils. Never lose my passion for you. With the passage of time, I can see the vines climbing up the walls. You answer when I call. You rescue me from all my troubles. The wounds others cause me, and those I bring upon myself like walls of rubble. When the building is set to be destroyed, crashing down upon my stubborn goat like neck. Keep my conscience in check. When I start to drift away from my lifestyle of holiness, making choices like Christian Grey, let me not blaspheme your name or procrastinate when you call me into action. I wanna be that screamo Christian, not a lukewarm liver at all, not a fan sinner who gets spewed out your mouth for being neither cold nor hot. If we get served tea like that, it tastes terrible and it's better late to waste. Help me face my fears when I've got tunnel vision and I can't see beyond them or view the light at the end of this gaping cylindrical shaped mouth. Every day I fight a battle with my thoughts. If they will leave you pleased or somewhat distraught, let me not take pride in any victory gained in my life. Ground reclaimed over the enemy. Now I'm no longer lost but found. I have reason to rejoice, for you have liberated me. You have gone to the camp of my nemesis and restored to me all that is stolen in abundance. I don't make any excuses as useless, but use me even as I'm protesting my reluctance like you did with Jonah. Though you know I try to run away from you, still you can use me as your beacon and mouthpiece. It's not always the prophecies that make you feel a warm and gooey inside that you need to hear the most. Though you may be feeling low, God will keep you on your toes. Sometimes He needs to give us a harsh word in order to discipline us and bring out His best in us. Can we rest in His arms? Why do we worry so much? Why do we allow the frustrations of this world to rob us of our joy? Put a man's back and our step. Stick springs on the bottom of our heels again. Out of your control, to you shield myself from all the harm of my worst possible foe. My heart was frozen before I met you. My heart was steel. You shaped my stony self into a flesh-like creature capable of being used by you. Mold me and shape me, oh powder of human clay. Take away everything within me that is not of you. So what if I was forced to find my identity only in you? What if I was divorced from the former personality I knew as myself when I gazed into the mirror? Let me blaze bright for you, offer of life. Rid me of the confusion in my mind. What is my responsibility? Can you still use my ability to create platforms and open doorways of opportunity? Surely nothing is impossible for you. Though it may not look like what I might describe as the ideal prescription for a happy existence. In solitude I find your peace, in lonely hours you pursue me. The smell of flowers causes my jaws to drop open in amazement at your goodness and your glory. How could this God still love me even after all I've done? Grace makes no sense to me, that's why it's grace no works. I seek your face and see you are my Lord, eternal God in my heart. Over as my doubts, I can learn to live without them hanging round like a bad smell or unwelcome visitor. Let me not plummet to help. Cause of all this rage within me, I disengage for the sake of my own sanity. Set me free, you see, I could go my own way.
unless my path reflects you, Yahweh. I know I'm treading on dangerous ground, walking on thin ice, climbing up a slippery slope that will only test my hope like chips on a hidden iceberg. Nope. In you there's acceptance and completion, though the world may perceive us as bastardized rhetorical secretions. Spur me on. Though I may have been a little bit lost inside the wilderness of this world, staring back at everyone with my eyes of glassy disdain, can I connect with people when they seem like hot air balloons floating away from me above the breeze? I've got that spaced out mentality again. It's hard to tell you the truth without breaking trust or confidence, but I don't think I'm doing that. 'Cause it should be an open secret what went on in that branch of the house of God, or is information only revealed on a need-to-know basis only? I'll find out how well informed you are before I proceed to reveal more than you're supposed to be privy to. You would think in your position you would have heard everybody's business, but I know you aren't always there to tune into the sound of screaming ordinary folks wrestling with their own personal demons. Of all the places to find them, they brought them into the chapel. They didn't unleash them, even when they were in the car outside waiting for the moment when the service would begin and everyone could scramble out their vehicles into the hole in a mad rush or a dignified assembly, marching like orderly little penguins. The pastor is always there to greet everyone who comes with a need for prayer and $1 in their hand to contribute towards the welfare of other parishioners and the extension of a building beyond foundation level to reach completion on the way, progressing with their goal. How far have they gone towards accomplishing it? They now have workable toilets. Some say my mouth is like a commode. I might just explode with all those woeful regrets bundled up inside my glee-sprung spirit. Are we advancing or retreating? I find myself adding and subtracting friends. Am I contracting this treating others casually disease? I find myself becoming more distant from people the closer they get to my heart. I'm duty bound to retreat. I fear I might hurt too much if I open up my old wounds, scared that everyone from a particular culture might react in the same way if I act too friendly towards them. Learning from experience the danger of asking questions in excess to perfect friends, getting people riled up, causing their backs to get up, making the hairs of the spine stand on end like a porcupine squirrel when it's defending itself against the onslaught of attackers from all sides. It's a beautiful thing to praise the Lord and gain a friend, the kind that's faithful from now until the end of time. No more climbing up the walls for me and don't going crazy over toxic environments that cause me to get vexed, fearing for my own life, confused over what's next. How soon to lie to am the victim in the wrong place at the right time, not prepared for sudden swipes. Knuckle sandwiches pouring at my windpipes. I can feel the tension in the air. You can slice it with a knife like cake for a children's party. That's not the reason why we're celebrating. We might be pointing to a future event when the angels up in heaven are throwing a block party and rejoicing over one more sinner coming into grace via repentance. Did you think there was any other route to get there? I'm sorry, my friend. They must have fed your derriere a pack of lies. That's worse than swallowing swordfish in your pie. Better they had insulted your intelligence some other way. That doesn't lead your soul towards stinking like sulfur. You can't fix yourself up when you've breathed your last. So get right with God now. If you're tight with him, then homie, you won't be swimming in a lake brimming with fire, not turtles and stingrays. The Ancient of Days will guide you home when you're lost in the wilderness, sick of all your wild ways, willing to become a child of God at long last, breathing sighs of relief, frustrated in his purity and peace. Joy is to be discovered between those four square walls. It's not the only place my feet turn into yo-yos, but I've become a pogo thanks to the Spirit of God flowing through these beautiful instruments tuned into his heartbeat, set on glorifying him with every plucked string, beaten skin, floor thumped, foot plonked, your clapping hands, crossing symbols symbolizing love for him, shaking wooden eggs in praises of the one who made our limbs. You jumpstart my heart like a defibrillator. I understand my head is under your investigation 24/7. You know just how to make my word complete. I can be your body, but I can be your baby, and you can be my spouse. When I have none of my own, and even afterwards, you can't be my child, but you can be a parent to me, and a sibling when I need that kind of bonding. Though you're always more than merely just a body, your instructions are receded, not ignored or treated like suggestions. If I ever questioned your authority, I'm sorry. I don't understand the way the universe works, but that doesn't mean I should pin the blame on you when I end up with no girlfriend because I treat her like the scum between my toes. I just fall at the touch, forgetting the cold, not able to handle the pressure of distance suddenly imposed on us. It used to be so easy, love. What happened to talking between commercial breaks, watching the same show, so our minds were in tune with each other almost completely. That's why I didn't know what it was to be my own person, except for the things that mattered, like compromising on sexual identity issues. We may as well have been soul twins. I guess we didn't agree on the most crucial things. It wasn't a question of horoscopes and intellectual superiority, or even the warfare of class and politics, although that probably had a role to play in the disarray that became us. I didn't care that you didn't see fit to give a red cent to charity. You never had the experience of trudging in the hard sludge like me. You only knew the shopping center side of the coin, where you have to deal with argumentative folks, but you were less likely to battle the police or security guards just for the right to come and go about your business undisturbed. Of course, you were smarter than me. I bet you never tried to sneak into a fashion parade with a skeleton hoodie covering your face, and if an officer of the law had wanted to remove the obstruction to his viewing of your eyes, he probably would have obliged him instead of flatly refusing like me, because I know my rights and I had my ticket, and that was the only evidence he needed me to produce in order to be on that particular mode of transportation that evening. Oh, they can try and make life difficult for you, but remember they are placed there in order to keep you safe, even if it may feel sometimes that they do more harm than good. It's crazy that a lack of cash prevents them from following through. When poor innocent pensioners get robbed in broad daylight, we fight to maintain our delight in America.
Coasting the rising and falling waves of my many moods occurring in this melodious meandering mind of mine.
See how meddlesome I am. Happy as a clam to be in your company, kicking out the jams, picking out those prams from a mile off. They say you will be okay with rams, battering at your door, shattering your illusions as you crawl on the floor, imploring me for mercy like I acted before. Seeking a replica of that treatment I once gave you, plenty of them, not a foot this time. I have seen life beyond the chance. I know exactly where there is going. If I delude myself, we can be right as rain as again. Maybe there's an exception to the rules. Everyone is allowed to have a bad hair day every now and then. But this creepy pattern occurs too frequently for me to stomach it. I'm getting too close to the flames and I fear my fingers being burned by hanging round the fire of friendship. It's not the end of the world we know, where you and I will sweet like pie, stuck like glue to each other's side, blow suddenly up in smoke. Moving on is hard to do, but sometimes it's necessary for the survival of us both. You can tell me when I'm jumping the gun, when I cross the line, 'cause I didn't line my mind up with the cross. If I'm being out of order like a vending machine that doesn't work, please say so and let me go straight away. I bet you wish you left me stranded at that train station, rather than returning me to a place where I was able to be restored to my original location before I met you last time. You don't have to bear that guilt bundled heavy on your shoulders. Why do you struggle to convince yourself that you are not responsible in any way, shape or form for his actions? Women take on way too many of their man's own burdens. I know I'm insulting your choices in partners. I'm not saying you are incapable of making an intelligent decision about the ones you choose to love. Did you beg him to come back, or was he the one to come running and knocking again at the door of your heart? Fucking up in your best dress, just to ease the stress. You didn't mean to add to it, but you couldn't tolerate the mess you made of your life together. You feel like you're the only parent in the relationship that's living with one big kid and one little kid. Where is maturity and responsibility? Where is the attitude of grown-ups? Just one kid out who knows how to drive, who somehow bluffed his way through Bible college, who knows how to twiddle knobs and make a mean tune, but doesn't know how to tune out his own meanness, who says it belongs to him when it latches onto him, who says he has to allow it to grip him and take him over. Other people are able to shake loose these monkeys with their chitter-chatter in their ears about things that don't matter, to making mountains out of molehills, jumping on their backs, wreaking devastation, and everywhere they turn they know you can't hit your daddy back. Even when you're brought forward enough to look each other in the eye and have a post-pubescent conversation, setting aside all blame, shifting and calling for a second. How long are you gonna run around using the excuse that you weren't loved properly, to justify the fact you treat everyone like trash, only good for what you can get out of them, then disposing of them the second their backs are turned? I know I digested way too much garbage when I was a little kid, shoveling garbage into the back of my mind. Now when I'm all I struggle to extricate it, I have good reason to get hot under my collar. But I have to focus on what is truly important. Is this the battle that we're fighting? Will winning it cause us all to be pushed closer to heaven or hell as a result? That should be your method for determining whether or not to get involved. Some problems find their way of resolving themselves independently of our input. We have to wait until Jesus comes back for every conflict in the universe to be dissolved. Until then, we are not absolved of the responsibility to maintain a good Christian witness and act like Christ is truly in us, not just a name we proclaim on our t-shirts. I'm sorry for going all hot and cold on you like a bunch of fixtured faucets. You have to take your time with affection. Don't never bother trying to force it. Fires my brain cells open with forceps. Pass through the bars, open a jar of happiness. Pour it out all over the insides of my flesh. My spirit is desperately crazed, replenishing. I didn't close the deal. I didn't keep it real. My heart was made of steel. I told you to keep your options open. Love is leaping off the cliff face, soft and embracing me there when it's almost too late to say. I literally feel if you aren't intimidated, then date me, darling. Make me your soulmate. How would you rate me? As a careful yet cautious companion who makes you more nauseous and comfortable around me. I can see those eyes starting around the room. A huge part of me wants nothing more than simply to be a chatterbox with you. But I'm kicking up the jam, so that's why I shove that silent treatment in your face. Offering a wall and a mask instead of a warm hug and a kiss. In Christ we are kindred. It's God's will, escapable or kismet. If it is cold in there that we should be falling for each other, why are we stolen? Strolling like we do, scrolling our signatures on the checkbook. Autograph seeking scoundrels, those who only wish to flog a John Hancock or Susie Citizen online. To the highest bidder, you're such a kidder. No, I'm not bitter. Like black coffee or smoker's lungs, this time not a moment too soon, not a day too late. I could hardly be accused of having too much on my plate. Got a whole lot going on. I can choose to forego at a whim, but I need the time daily in God's presence. I couldn't survive without him. Look at what my day turns into when I don't start it out right. I find my thoughts turning towards the wicked path more than righteousness. Yet when I turn to you before I do anything else with this bad 24 hours you gave me, what remains? After I spend the portion necessarily sliced out of them for sleep, I emphasize my requirement to flop on you in every working hour. I'm mesmerized by your power, fascinated by your grace, devour my portion of my last plates. Look at how the world has come full circle. I find myself on the edges of treading on the outside again. It took me so long to build this empire of friends. Imagine if it all came crashing down, and I'm left with nothing in the end. It isn't the one with the most toys who wins, or the one who makes the most noise who has something important to say. It doesn't follow that I will be the one to laugh the last. Just because my cackle is the loudest amongst all the other jackals. Let me not drag around the shackles of my sin any longer. This fortress is cobbled together out of blood and timely decisions. I'm not wrestling with contradictions and apparitions anymore. I'm listening to you, oh my lord.
The cruel way you reject the acceptance of friends more than perfect strangers. Sometimes friendship is about making sacrifices. Love requires fighting in order to sustain its maintenance. I can understand if we were having this conversation face to face and you were looking upon me in an askance manner. You can't always make a living out of doing what you love. Sometimes you just got to do whatever pays the bills. But I find myself in a privileged position of being able to afford travelling and remaining in one accord with my precious lord, engaged in an activity I'm passionate about, having as much time as I like to get the job done, being my own boss. There's a myth, if there ever was one, because my leader was on the cross, now he's risen, so I can call myself among his chosen. I praise you, Almighty, for all the doors you've opened up for me. You fill my cup of blessings instantly. I know you aren't my only friend in the world but I should primarily be seeking you for advice above all other possible sources of information. You are so resourceful. The way you heal every disease and chase away my remorseful thoughts. I am not divorced from the responsibilities of daily living. I still need to learn how to be obedient to my parents without adopting a resentful and grumpy attitude. Out loud saying yes while in my head say no, we're doing the opposite of what they tell me. I know I'm not easy to live with. I fly off the handle and have been known to suddenly flare up with wild moods. I'm a prickly pear, that's why I don't fancy hanging round a bunch of other dynamite strapped hedgehogs just in case we set each other off. I'm not pretending like I'm Mr. Perfect, it's just that God has shown me a way to battle with my mouth instead of my fists. And my folks taught me well to never hit a woman, though she may provoke me to anger, because we are supposed to care for them, protect them, and walk in humility and righteousness in our actions and thoughts towards them. I want to dispel the myth that God doesn't hear or answer our prayers, because you know He does. It's undeniable that He cares. It's not like a single one of your page-stricken requests ever truly fell on deaf ears. Just keep persisting. Through those unhappy tears, He will bring out the sunshine. Cause it to break loose from the cage of dark clouds and teach you how to smile again like you did when you were a young kid, devoid of responsibilities. Perhaps our childhoods appeared slightly different from each other's. I never had to draw water from a well or carry it around in a heavy bucket on my shoulders, though some delusional twats call me a symbol for aquavitae bearers. Pour out your blessings on me, Lord, on me, Jesus. I'm so glad I don't live in a place where the source of my water isn't used for bodily excretions, washing as well as cooking and drinking. Is it any wonder so many die at the tragic gnarled claws of waterborne diseases? No matter how privileged we may appear to be, none of us escape the jaws of death, ripping manically at our flesh, unless we're favoured enough to be translated or live long enough to see the day of our sweet Saviour's return. You could say I took the easy way yet. So why does this seem like such a rocky path to follow? I know you're with me on this journey, even though I feel so shallow and so hollow, wallowing in the misery of my regrettable decisions. What is it going to cost me? What have I gained from this experience? This was more than a social experiment to see how I could survive in a different environment. I never thought I would go back on my choice. It's funny how I swap friendships with sisters. How one came to play a more significant role in my life than the other. Should I sing the Magnificat or lament the fact you may no longer see me quite so close as to be mistaken for your brother? If we were examined from the inside out, would our souls resemble mirrors? I'm sure the good Lord would find far too much muck in mine. Why is it I can never see the human in you, only the touch of the divine? I am revisiting familiar frustrations. I don't want to treat her cold-heartedly, chilly like my newborn baby, when it has had to be like my newborn body, when it had to be placed in incubation, like the 2 small eggs given to us to raise a mock star own brood of hens, needing a little warming and artificial nurturing. If you had passed on like those honey-imitating siblings, who never made it past the womb stage. I never would have caused you grief, yet neither would we share a degree of happy memories. So here I am, hoping to God that things change, though I'm far too fatalistic for a theist who has Christ in them. Haven't I learned by now God is a way of transforming people when they seem impossible to alter? Oh Lord, help me when I stumble and falter. Let me bow before your altar. In humility regain the gift of strength bestowed on us by our Lord and Master to fathom another day. Is there a better way to deal with this situation than the path that I am choosing? Am I in situ? Can I claim to be appropriately located? Is it improper of me to sit in judgment when I have so many lessons to learn still? It's a slow and steady climb uphill. I'm done blaming everyone else for my problems. I can't explain these shaking reactions. All I can say is there's a war that's going on in me. I hope I hope Jehovah wins. I know in the end he will conquer death and hell. His heavenly palace is the place where I want to dwell. He caused me to rise back up each time I fell, and face the world of tomorrow beyond my devastating yesterday of woe. Some sensible people with brains bigger than mine hold on to their friends or their lives, no matter how much they may hurt them or cause worms to squirm on their insides. They choose to ignore those bad things about them. I only focus on what's of merit in their existence. I guess that makes sense. But what if danger signs are flashing all around our interactions, and threats to my safety are reoccurring with alarming frequency? Though I may be under no threat personally, I don't possess the kind of personality that can handle all this stress. I barely cope when I lose control of my plans for the after dawn, when I have no choice but to wait around for friends to be done with whatever chore we find ourselves forced to endure. I skip the drudgery of family meetings. My clumsy brain somehow skipped the memo when I was supposed to go to a different location. So our usual conversation spent a little longer in hibernation than it needed to have done. Now where will I find therapy? How can I vent all these piranha-like thoughts swimming round my head? I don't need you to belt my buckle for me. I'm not that big of a baby, but in many ways I'm still to reach complete emotional maturity. You have surety that the one you love the most won't vanish like ghost or rain again. For the sake of a baby, your little world keeps spinning on its twisted metal axis. What kind of future would I have to offer my little one? What could I do that would make sure they always have food in their tummy train? I didn't want to have nothing to give the starving mouth of my offspring when they came into the world. I know you're listening to me. You can bring two hearts together and make them beat faster in each other's company. I know it could have worked out, if only you didn't struggle to comprehend what was necessary to keep your feet firmly planted on this ground, instead of flapping your wings and flying away over the ocean of my blues. All you are to me is a memory now that somehow manages to continue grieving. I'm left grieving over wasted time. Taking advantage of your vulnerability and causing you public embarrassment was a couple of my biggest ever mistakes. I know I erred in my judgment. Instead of proceeding on the side of caution, what if you weren't able to get away? And if we managed to spend the day out in the sunshine exploring a fairground, or out on the water together observing all the people milling out around the ports? I almost didn't get there. I'm grateful for your support. God screwed your head on tightly. Your mama taught you well how not to get lost in a big city, even on the other side of the world. How often did we revisit those stories, telling of the glories, those victories won, those moments when we were forced to cut our losses? I felt like I was right there with you. So well you painted those pictures, brushing with your mouth on an imaginary canvas, awakening for me all your past experiences, taking me traveling, my mind going on a journey with you into the realm of fantasy. They tried to make you feel bad for standing up for righteousness, for sticking to your guns and not succumbing to evil. You didn't like the rules they made, forcing you to stay away from members of the opposite sex, fining you if you disobeyed. Now my soul is tattered in disarray. Won't you come back for me when the malady of loneliness suddenly hits me? This tide is crimson washing over me, flooded by absolution and sweet relief. Release this tiger from his cage. Seal me shut inside my cave.
For I am better off hidden out of sight from the world than being surrounded by it. Once I was grounded on the firm foundation of my faith. I discovered lasting hope beyond the grave. If I had a better sense of direction, maybe we could have made the magic last longer. Or if only I had held on to that map I once owned, then maybe we could have cobbled together a day out of it, revisiting these disparate elements of affection, envisaging a world without orphans caused by war, poverty, and sickness. Can you picture that scene inside your head? Does it burn within you candles of passion to see the living dead being raised to life, soaring with risen Christ? Dismember me. Don't pretend you want my company, unless you're prepared to keep a picture of me on your mantelpiece. Come next to me, we can bathe in the waves of this tsunami. You don't have to harm me with your company. Let us return to prelapsarian innocence. Before we fell from grace, steamrolled by those moments when we caved into temptation in fear of retribution and keep our lips stitched. What did we contribute towards each other's humble selves? It would be easier to keep my eyes from straying if I had some kind of promise from you, that you might consider the possibility that the two of us might be compatible together. Yet I know I'm just making excuses, because if I had you, I would probably wrestle with my lazy vision still, bouncing up over the hill. It's like a pill I can't stop myself popping, dropping off to sleep, dreaming of you, floating like an angel, hovering in midair, soaring in white robes and wings over my head, a halo glowing, nestled just above your curly black head, full of promise and reinvigorating energy and enthusiasm to keep on going against all odds. The faithfulness of friends inspires my own, but oh, how I wish I could leave well alone that fence I love to sit on. Let me not be spat at the mouth of my love for my lackadaisical attitude when it comes to keeping you love. My Jehovah is the ultimate booster shot. Jumping out of bed like there's a rocket sprung up my butt. Urged to action by the disarray I see all around me. You didn't want us to just sit back and watch while the world falls apart. You desire us to be your hands and feet, to reach out and offer a helping hand to those in need. Let the seed of faith you planted in my heart not get destroyed by weeds. Lord, please help me, cause I need your strength. I know my weakness. I seek a way out of the traps I stick myself in. When my curiosity cages on my innocence, we are inundated with requests from all sides. Challenge to respond in a loving manner to complaints being painted as a harlequin snuff for tyrant. This community is vibrant, full of color and life. Beneath its happy lurid sheen lies a tragic scene. The only thing that ever needs to get best together is a fish against a jetty plank. But you will see aquamarine life treated with more care than some shoulderless foxes. We don't know the giant terror that lurks within these houses. I feel guilt over those discrepancies I felt it with knowledge, not so much about the fact that I never went to college or successfully completed a course by correspondence, being far too despondent to rise up and seize the challenge, to expand the horizons and limitations of your mind, to exceed their expectations and leave them so very far behind that you're marching on our dust. I'm wondering how you managed to survive without having someone to love all the time. We may discount the contributions of our friends and family, saving all our affection for an invisible entity. We just about exhausted our supply of harmonies, melodies, and rhythms when we had all this over and dry. If Christ is your first love, it doesn't matter whether humans go or stay, for He's living in your heart. You know true romance, being held in His mighty hands. Well, for He is living in your heart, permanently taking up residence. I understand your reticence to get to know Him better, but once you give Him a chance, you know true romance, being held in His mighty hand, delicately gripped like a piece of crystal or a fragment of glass from a precious palace receptacle. I would be wise to stop preparing now, for I think I can no longer chase after evil, because it doesn't exist anywhere in this world, in the reality of the future made present, that day for which we long await with patience. The tricks I'm employing don't seem to be working. I'm sorry for jerking you around, saying I could when I didn't want to be there by your side. Not comfortable with just sitting next to you, keeping my hands and eyes glued to my lap. Perhaps the bridge of friendship has collapsed between us, yet Christ can't build it back up from scraps. Peace out.